All aboard!
Okay, so I wanted to, well, I asked if you all, some of you, well, how should I start it? Okay, so here is a video on how to get your dog to run with you hands-free. So many of you were really excited about this, which makes me so happy. And I'm also gonna bring out the bike. Some people were asking about the bike too. So biking and running. The first step before running or biking with your dog is making sure that he is good on leash. And a lot of times what happens, the biggest thing you have to be careful about is your dog pulling you over or whatever their triggers are. So if your dog loves squirrels or, can you walk in front of me? It's like when you sit next to me, I don't really like it. Okay, so if your dog is triggered by things like dogs or squirrels or lizards, you want to make sure that you are very aware of that and you're clear with your dog before doing any like fast moving things that they're not allowed to react to those things. So one thing with e-collar stuff, with e-collar heel, is working with your dog before you do the fast stuff. It just makes it so much easier, so much smoother, so your dog understands what's expected, so that it makes it much easier when you're running or whatever. So what I like to do is first do the walk and make sure that my dog is, so what I'm doing is guiding back and tapping, tapping, tapping until he gets where I want him to be. I'm at a level 3. He's a sensitive boy, which is nice. Yep. Good. 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 So the one thing before running with your dog, make sure that you can change up speed. So fast, 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 fast. Slow. Make sure that your dog can be in tune with you when you're not moving fast. Okay, so let's say you have that down. Your dog's walking really well on leash. E-collar. So what I like to first do is run with a shorter leash so I can give guidance if I need to. Are you ready to run? So, like this. And with the shorter leash first, no, giving a prong collar pop if he needs it. Heel. No, he's very distracted by you. That's good. So like this first. And then once I get him running next to me nicely and I trust that he knows where he should be, then I give some extra leash, and I'll usually do this. And then if I need to give some more, okay, let's walk. This is very hard to do while you're running. Okay, so, So first, when you start running with your dog, have a shorter leash. So you're running, 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 shorter leash if you need to give some guidance back. This will really help you to see how your dog is when you're walking or running faster and still give you a lot of opportunities to give your dog as much information as possible. Don't go straight to this, like don't go straight to like hands-free. You will get there, but first this will help you understand just how your dog will be on the run. I feel like I keep repeating everything, but okay, so once you've been doing this with a shorter leash and also the e-collar, so I have this, I'm always communicating with him with this if I need to. So, but you have to be pretty fluent with the e-collar first. But I'm using it kind of like an invisible fence. So imagine there's an invisible fence here and you don't want your dog to pass it. Once I get to the point of giving extra leash, I will start, first do this with when you're walking. Make sure you can, should we go back inside? Make sure you can do a loose leash. Okay, let's go back. Okay, here are the 3 steps to get yourself to running with your dog hands-free. Hands-free, you can still have the leash on obviously, but running like this, like normal runners. That's 1. Okay. 2. Wait, no, that wasn't 1. 1. Make sure that you're running, but you have like your hand on the leash. So you want to get closer. Like I have my hand on the leash so that I can give some information if I need to. Okay, all right, that's 1. 2, practice walking with your dog with a looser leash, walking first, changing up speed, walking fast. No. He's running with you.
It's
All
very
right,
hard.
so let's do that. All right.
Okay,
Okay.
do 2 again.
Okay, 2 is giving more leash and seeing how your dog does when you walk with him. Change up your speed, slow down. Come on. Slow down. Careful cars. Have your dog sit. All right, but the biggest thing is do everything you're gonna do on your run on the walk first. Slow walking first, pick up your speed, see how your dog does, slow down. And this will really help you to kind of mold what you want your dog to do when you start moving faster. A lot of times dogs get really excited when you move fast. Like Bobby was just moving really fast and he was like, oh, playtime. And he went a little nutty. So you just always have to be aware of that. You don't want your dog to pull you over when you're running, which I know is what so many people struggle with. So what I'm gonna start doing is running a little bit faster, just like a jog. No, no. All right, so start walking with a looser leash. So important to work with your dog walking first and make sure your dog understands what this command means so that you can just tap while you're running. So if I'm running and he gets out a little too much, tap, heel, and what he'll do is usually just come back close to me. Heel. Good. And I can always give some extra leash if I need to, like if I'm running and there's a lot of distractions, just give some more pressure on the leash and run free with one hand. So with the leash until you feel comfortable. No, no, yep. No. So sometimes I'm also tapping and saying no, because I don't want him to go out in front. Nope. Good. But the biggest thing I want everyone to be careful about is you don't want your dog to trip you. I don't want anyone to message me saying, ah, I hurt my knee. I mean, you can. I'm sorry, don't do that. And then also you can mix it up when you first start doing this with your dog with walking. Very good distraction. I put mascara on for this. So the cool thing to me about off-leash running with your dog, so off-leash, hands-free running, and then maybe getting to the point where you could just have your dog using your e-collar, no leash on, that's really cool. The biggest thing is this is kind of a time for you to just like have fun and don't worry so much about, at least for me, if you have a dog that's super reactive, that's another thing, but for dogs that are, no, you come over. Just have some fun. So I'm not too worried about him being perfectly behind me. That's just me. So I like for this to be a time where he can get out a little bit maybe. I just want him to follow with me. It's really the biggest thing. Definitely not in front of me. Yeah, so let's see. make sure you already have your e-collar set to a level that means something to your dog. That's really important too. And remember, at any time you can always do this so you can give some extra guidance. Slow down your speed during the run. Does this look crazy?
No.
And pick back up. Oh, and also, let's say if your dog is reactive to dogs, squirrels, whatever it is, always be on the lookout for these things. So I think that's why it's so important to work with your dog first on the walking and get your dog politely walking with you. Make sure your dog will ignore certain things when you're walking, because if your dog won't, he will not ignore it when you're running. Actually, I've seen a lot of times dogs are much more distracted by like the movement of running, that they usually don't react to stuff. Like on the bike especially, so we'll go over bike stuff. Let's come back this way.
The light was just starting to get pretty.
Oh, okay. Well, you tell me, Twister. To me, it's like so bright. What else? Heel. Heel. But honestly, like running with a dog, to me, it's I don't want you to be so stressed out about the position. I definitely don't want your dog pushing you and like going out in front. But I don't know, if they get a little to the side, I just want your dog following with you. I think it's a really cool way to build your relationship and do something fun, make yourself feel good. Your dog will be happy. Yeah. What else? Oh, there's also a leash you could do. It's called Tough Mutts, and we have one. And you can tie it around, or it goes around your waist and it clips, and then it has a leash attached to it. So that way you can easily drop it. I sometimes will just do this if I'm working with the dog, and then but you can just drop that leash. That's always a good idea. I think the biggest thing is just get to know your dog. Like, know what they are willing to chase after. I think that's a really important thing. Should definitely show the bike too. That would be interesting. Yeah, but also like things that I've talked about before on videos, tools really help, like the e-collar and prong collar really helps, but I know a lot of you are also using harnesses, flat foot, whatever you want to use, whatever's working for you, it's totally fine. Anything's possible. I just know the tools are helpful for like everyday owners. So a couple of things like I've shown before, if he were really out of tune with me, which tends to happen, Bobby was distracting him like way more than he normally would when it's just me and him. You could do a set and stop, so you would tap and give a pop on the e-collar at usually a higher level than what you're normally using. The point of this is to snap your dog out of it and just get them back in tune with you. Snap your dog out of like the arousal that they're in, like if they're like, ooh, what's going on? So, I'll do it. So the one thing about that is be sure to dial back down to your running number. Our running number is like 8, 6 to 8. That number that I just did was 35. It just helps. Oh, I'm on the wrong side. Oh, it's fine. No, it's our neighbor. Morning. Makes me want to go back to Park Avenue. Everyone was so nice. Oh, so another one is the like 180. So a turn, and you're meant to catch your dog off guard. Don't go like, okay, we're gonna turn. Just turn. So we'll see what he does. So it's just a little pop with the prong collar. He's fine. He's happy. But those are just two really good ways to get your dog back focused on you. You could also bring food. He gets really worked up over food sometimes, and you can always do that too. Okay. Now let's do the bike. You can stop. Okay, so now to the bike. So first what I like to do is walk with the dog next to it. We're not just gonna hop on and start riding. Sometimes you can do that with. But with him, that's what I first did, and the first time that I introduced him, he was super freaked out and actually looked like he wanted to go after my foot. So a prong collar and leash really helps. The prong collar just gives you a bit more, it's just really easy for you to communicate what you're asking, which is like, hey, no, back off, or get away from my foot, kind of a thing. So then the next thing is getting on. And again, you wanted to have the same rules that you do when you're on the walk with your dog, same expectations. No pulling me or anything like that. Just jog nicely next to me. So I'm going to use the leash for guidance, and then also use the e-collar if I say heel. There you go, Mike. So I'm not sure if you can tell, he's like looking at my foot. Please? Nope. A little pop back. Good. Push go straight. So far I've just been giving some leash guidance, and then also there's no tension. So I don't want him to feel the prong collar and leash the whole time. I want him to know that this is kind of a sign like, yes, I like what you're doing, there's no tension. Trotting beside it, beside the bike. Now I'm going to start pairing heel with a tap on the e-collar, plus a little pop back. Heel. Oh, I don't really need to right now. It's kind of... This is really it. Like, I think if you have a dog that is trying to go after your feet or after the bike, just use your leash. Prong collar really helps. E-collar really helps. Correct for any like biting at the bike or anything like that, which I have done before. But with him, it was more just giving like leash guidance with the prong collar, and then you get this. To the left. And this actually, I might recommend, nope. So I don't want him going up like ahead of the bike. Like right there is fine. I may recommend this before jogging with your dog, because you'll start to see it's easier to control your dog when you're moving like this on the bike. Your dog won't knock your knees over or anything like that, but you'll start to see what your dog reacts to or what they're nervous about. A little straight or left. You'll also start to see one thing that's really cool is moving your bike, so going to the right, seeing if your dog follows with you, which is really cool. I love this. This is so fun with dogs. It's such a perfect time to do it. Heel. I want him like right here.
You should explain about keeping dogs away from the front wheel.
Oh yes, don't let your dog next to the front wheel. It's very dangerous.
That's where they can take you down.
Yeah.
They want to hear you, not me.
Yes, like Bobby says, don't let the dog. work with a ton of reactive dogs, but biking with them tends to distract them enough where they don't go as crazy as they do when you're walking. I don't know. So far, that's my experience. That's very nice. Look at him! So he likes squirrels, so see squirrels up here? No. Good. So sometimes when I say no, it depends on the situation. I'm either giving a pop with the prong collar or tapping on the e-collar. If you need to be a bit more intense, or if your dog is a bit more like worked up over stuff, a higher correction on the e-collar would probably do it. Enjoy your dog. Biking with dogs, so much fun. Just be aware. Oh, there's a dog coming up. Nope. Good. Yeah, get out with your dog. Biking is so much fun. It's just a great way to work on kind of like your leash handling skills too. Like give some pressure, release the pressure. I'm excited for you. Let me know how it goes. Quarantine and bike. Okay? All right. Till next time. Bye. Oh yeah. To incorporate into biking and running is easy. So sometimes it's kind of like a heel, but it's a great way to get your dog to slow down. So if we're running really fast or biking really fast and then I want to slow down, and I'll double tap on the e-collar at lower level and say easy as I double tap. And surprisingly, they slow down. Easy is one of my favorite commands, but I don't really hear a lot. But good boy.
Look at that razorback.
I know. Looks like Inky Mohawk. Biking. So much fun. Walking Dog Productions. Cut!